Ready, Rachel? Okay. Good evening. Let me welcome you to the regular town council meeting for Monday, March 11th. We have a special guest. At this time, I want to invite Pastor Dana Norton of the New Covenant United Methodist Church to come forward for the invocation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Would you join me in prayer? Oh, most gracious, most glorious God, in our community of such diversity, we cry out to you using many names. And so it is in that cry that we ask for you to be present in this place, among us, guiding all deliberations, providing for civil discourse, providing guidance in decisions that might be made that are for the good of all of our community and not just a few. We give this meeting to you, and we pray that it will be used for your glory in this place to make Sunnyvale the place you want it to be. It is in the name that we call you out by all names that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Now time is 7:03. At this time, let me call to order the regular town council meeting of Town of Sunnyvale for March 11th. For the record, all council members are present, so we have a quorum. First item is the public forum. So at this time, citizens may come forward and talk to the council on any matters other than personal matters or matters under litigation. So if anyone would like to come forward and talk to the council, please do so at this time. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public forum. Moving on to consent agenda items 1 through 5. Number 1, that is consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of the Town Council for September 10, 2018. Number 2, consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of the Town Council for February 11, 2019. Number 3, consider approval of minutes for the special meeting of the Town Council for February 25, 2019. Number 4, consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of the Town Council for February 25, 2019. And finally, discuss and consider approving second reading of Ordinance 19-09, an ordinance declaring unopposed candidates in the May 4, 2019 general town election, elected to office, canceling the election, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda?
Mayor, when you just mentioned that, what's up on the screen versus what you said on item 5? You said second reading. Item 5 says first reading on the screen. Just want to be sure that we're all clear as to what that is.
Okay, let's pull the item number 5 and come back to it. Would that
Sounds
be
good.
okay with you?
Sounds good.
Can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4?
I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve 1 through 4.
Motion made by Clark and second by Egan to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 6-0. Rachel, that is the second reading, correct?
It is. The item on the agenda is correct.
Okay,
So what's on the screen is incorrect. All right.
okay.
The agenda is correct.
Thank you, Rachel. Mr. Egan, any other comments on that?
No, I just want to be sure we all know we're
Yes.
all on the same plate with what's going on, so.
Got it. Okay, if there are no additional discussions, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda item number 5 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Egan, second by Mr. Allen to approve consent agenda item 5 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Any discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to the public hearing portion of the agenda. At number 6, hold a public hearing, consider and act upon a request by Matt Moore to approve a replat for Long Creek Crossing addition at or about the southeast corner of US Highway 80, South Collins Road, Highway 352. Would I turn that out to Eric?
Yes, Mayor.
Good evening, Eric.
This replat is concerning the first 3 lots. The first 3 lots, oh, there it goes, of the Long Creek Crossing addition over here at 80 and South in Collins Road, 352. The purpose of this replat is to increase Lot 1 due to an atmos gas easement on the southwest side, as well as subdivide Lot 3 into 2 lots. The developer was unable to receive approval to construct over the atmos easements. That's really what spurred it, but this item will be in conjunction with another item that's to come later for site plan approval for Panda Express, which will be part of Lot 3 as well. This was kind of a step more towards achieving what the concept plan called for, which is 7 developable lots. So when it was originally platted, it was only 6, with 5 being developable, and then the 6th one to reallocate all the trees to the back due to the easements running along the north side of the property. Public notice was provided in the town's official newspaper for publication on January 30th. Freestanding sign was placed on site, and letters were sent out to budding property owners. We have not received any in favor or in opposition to the request. Town staff recommends approval of the request. It meets all the requirements of the UDO and Long Creek Crossing MPD ordinance. The applicant is here if you'd like to answer any questions.
And the PNC approved by 7-0.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Council, any questions for staff? The applicant is here? Good evening. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Drew Donosky, 1903 Central Drive, Bedford, Texas, Claymore Engineering. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you want to add anything?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to add anything to what staff said?
No, Eric did a great job. Primarily the Atmos easement and then subdividing for future development in Panda.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Drew Donosky.
Drew, thanks for coming. I have a question for you. I think I heard this on the P&Z, but I just wanted to, it really sounds like it's echoing, but anyway. I want to be sure that I understand what happened at P&Z. By dividing this into 3 lots, it allows enough room for another drive-through to go into that lot. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Additional question for the applicant? Please be seated.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and talk to the council or talk about this topic, please come forward. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Staff, any additional comments or discussions on it?
No.
Council has any questions or discussions? Okay. If not, can I have a motion with respect to the request by Matt Moore to approve a replat for Long Creek Crossing addition at or about the southeast corner of US Highway 80 and South Collins Road, Highway 352.
So moved.
Move to approve?
Up to approve, correct.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Egan to approve the request. Second. Second by Mr. Finch. Everyone heard the motion? Any additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Moving on to the next agenda item, this is a public hearing. This is to hold a public hearing to consider and act upon a request by Michael Martin to approve a site plan, Panda Express, at or about the southeast corner of US Highway 80 and South Collins Road, Highway 352.
Yes, as I stated, this is going to be the second part that has to do with Long Creek Crossing. This is going to be for the subdivision of Lot 3. The fourth lot now, it's approximately 0.99 acres in size and will be a third lot to receive site plan approval in the Long Creek Crossing MPD. First two being Chick-fil-A and third, last one being a medical plaza. The MPD is 13.93 acres and was platted in the 6 lots. And today it was just approved for the replat. Lot 7 would be the eastern portion of Lot 3, as you can see. The numbering is a little different. The subject property abuts a small retail strip center to the southwest, as well as a residential neighborhood to the south, Stone Canyon. Long Creek Crossing MPD was adopted in 2017. It uses the general business zoning district as the base zoning. The plans show a 2,200 square foot, 1-story veneered masonry, mostly masonry veneered building for Panda Express. There are alternative materials on there, being composite decking as part of its iconic look for the applicant, Panda Express. The building design with 2 entries. The site will have multiple access points, South Collins and US 80. And there will be a 4-foot pedestrian trail sidewalk along the northern part of the property to provide access for pedestrians. You all have all of the details to the building, as well as the requested variations from the MPD, which mostly basically only concern the cladding of the building. All that being said, staff does recommend approval of this request for site plan. Um, With all that being said, you all can ask any questions you like.
Thanks, Eric. Are there any questions for the staff? The applicant wants to come forward again one more time?
Mayor, did the P&Z approve the 86% versus 90%?
Excuse me, what was the question?
Did the P&Z
Yes,
approve
yes, they
the
did.
86 versus the 90?
It's a very small percentage that they're asking for over. And I would also like to point out that the comment for the North Texas Municipal Water District easement has been attained. We got it as of today. It's been submitted. So there are no more concerns on staff's end.
Did we hear? Okay. Good afternoon.
Me first. Hi, Tom Rudd, ID Group, 2641 Irving Boulevard, Dallas, Texas. We're actually, Michael Martin couldn't make tonight. We're the architect. So if you have any questions, I have to answer.
Welcome to Sunnyvale. Do we know when this Panda Express will be opened?
How hungry are you?
Tomorrow afternoon?
Usually I think construction's about 120 days. So I can't remember what permit process here, how long it takes, but 3 months,
Gotcha.
4 months, 3.5, 4 months.
Council, any questions for the applicant?
So what exactly is Fiberon?
What exactly is Fiberon? It is a composite decking material, it's made out of recycled plastic, and it has some cementitious binders inside it. The closest thing I can give you a description to is some of the big box retail centers, Home Depot and Lowe's, sell a Trex. It's much better than Trex. Not just my opinion, the stuff costs twice as much. And we put it up there. You can get a variety of rainbow of colors. We actually put 2 different colors up there and do like a 60-40 blend mix. So it kind of like what you do with a hardwood floor. So it gives it a very warm feeling. It's great for durability, and we hold it off about 1.5 inches from the building, and we have a rain screen behind it. So it performs really well.
So our engineer's okay with the Fiberon?
Any additional questions for the applicant? Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Can I ask all the applicant to fill up that yellow card and drop it off at the front? That way we'll capture your name correctly. We want to be. This is a public hearing item, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and talk to the council on this topic, this agenda item, you may please come forward. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, are there any additional discussions or comments on this topic? If not, can I have a motion? Okay, let's come back to you. I'll give you the chance. With respect to the request by Michael Martin to approve a site plan Panda Express at or about the southeast corner of US Highway 80 and South Collins Road, Highway 352.
So moved to approve.
Motion made by Egan. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Finch. Are there additional discussions on this topic? Okay. If not, all in favor of the motion signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Thank you very much, guys. Moving on to the next item, that is to hold a public hearing and consider and act upon a request by Derek Salsa to approve a specific use designation for a restaurant with a drive-up window or curb service at or about 129 North Collins. Eric?
Yes, the applicant submitted an application for a specific use designation, also known as a SUD, to allow for a drive-through restaurant, or a drive-through for the cafe restaurant known as Hope Coffee. The subject property is located in local retail zoning district. Specific uses are those which are generally compatible with the permitted land uses in a given zoning district, but which require individual review of their location, design, and configuration, and imposition of conditions which require individual, or to ensure the appropriateness of the use at a particular location in a given zoning district. Business will be part of a larger multi-use development, including retail and office space. You all have all the requirements of a special use designation in front of you. The businesses that we have granted approval of drive-throughs haven't necessarily been through the SUD process, but rather a site plan approval because they were part of master plan developments. So this is the first one that's coming since the UDO. Public notice was provided to the town in the town's official newspaper on January 30th. Letters were also sent to abutting property owners within 200 feet. Total number of letters sent was 3. We did not receive any in favor or in opposition of this request. Town staff recommends approval of the specific use designation for a restaurant with drive-up window or curb service. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
I'd like to also say that the applicant is here present, and they have a short presentation for us to explain the type of drive-through that they will be utilizing and its technological aspects.
Good, looking forward to it. So before you come, let me, can you wait for a second? Okay. Council, any questions for staff? Okay. May I please come forward at this time? Thank you.
My name is Brian Masters at 4613 Bonniewood Drive, Mesquite, Texas, 75150.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. The plan that we have on our presentation, you can see on the screen here. The next slide will show the drive-through setup that we have planned for the development that is next door. It does have one drive-up window, which will stack 6 cars around there with 4 additional spaces for a pickup window or for curbside pickup through our mobile app system. If you go to the next slide, you can see common ordering on mobile apps through things such as McDonald's or Starbucks, Chili's, Applebee's, Panda Express, Chipotle, Jason's Deli, McDonald's, Target, and all those different ones. Typically have a mobile ordering app in which you order and then you have to walk into this physical store to pick up your items. If you go to the next slide, we believe the next version of that is actually the drive-through window where you're ordering on an app, picking up at the window itself, or pulling into a spot and we are delivering it to you at your car window. And so that's what we are planning to do for this particular environment. You can go to the next slide and see some concepts of different mobile ordering app type systems that we are considering for that. Thank you. Anything?
Very nice. Thank you. Council, any question for the applicant? Thank you, Brian, one more time. At this time, let me open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and talk to the council about this application, please come forward. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, are there additional discussions on this topic?
Mayor, nothing other than you might suggest Brian get a yellow piece of paper, put his name on it.
Thank you, Brian. If you could please fill up that paper for me.
Mayor, one of the concerns I have looking at this, and looking at all the drive-through restaurants and type things we have, it's oftentimes more than 5 or 6 cars at a drive-through. So I guess my biggest question is where's the contingency for cars that don't pull in off of Collins? Will they back up on Collins? And if so, what's the impact to Collins if we start backing cars up on Collins?
So let's ask the applicant whether he has any comments on it.
Sure. Just a second. That's part of the reason why we have the 4 designated spots for the pull-through, so we can send cars through to a pickup location. There are additional spots available should we need them, and we can designate more for that, and that's part of the additional drive-through. We believe we can move those cars through very quickly. Coffee and the products that we'll be selling are pretty quick to produce and send through the window. If it does start to back up, we are planning to have additional options to be able to go out into the area if we want, to be able to take those orders and send those cars through as quick as we can. However, having additional spots designated should allow us to have them pull into spot 5, 6, 7, 8 and be able to deliver that way.
Well, somebody will be there to direct the traffic, or
We should be able to just direct them from the window to tell them which spot to slide into and to pull into, and then our staff will be able to go out and deliver the product.
Gotcha. That answer your question, Mr. Allen? Okay.
So what commitment to mitigation will you commit to the town that if you see that happening, other than adding more spaces, maybe all your spaces get filled? Do you have any type of contingency? I'm all for what you're trying to do here.
Sure.
But we would have a major train wreck if,
Yes.
your line was full and all the spaces were full and,
Right.
yeah, you were trying to get people out there. You got people carrying coffee out,
Right.
but do you have anybody that would be, or will you commit to someone being there to play traffic cop to a certain degree so that we
Yes,
make
sir.
sure that we don't have that?
Yes, we can certainly commit to having somebody available to moving the traffic along.
Good.
So that there is not a issue with those cars backing up onto Collins Road.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
Additional questions? Thank you, Brian. Okay. At this time, I'm going to call for a motion with respect to the request by Derek Salser to approve a specific use designation for a restaurant with a drive-up window or curb service at or about 129 North Collins.
Mayor, I would like to add to that. I approve of that motion with the addition that the applicant has committed that they would ensure flow through and minimal impact to arterial roadways of the town, particularly Collins Road.
That may be a little difficult to enforce, the last part of it. If it meets the ordinance and the parking, well, what's going to be a violation?
Is that not the same as the following staff recommendation? It's just there's not a staff recommendation for doing so?
We need a specific, if it backs up, or they'll agree to not let it back up into roadways or not to interfere with traffic nearby. I think that's what you're trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So they will take steps to remedy, or they'll agree not to interfere with traffic coming in and out of.
So moved as to what town attorney said in terms of wording, so that we can ensure that we have some way of putting teeth back into.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
So state that one more time. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve with the condition, as they agreed to, that they will take steps to remedy situations if the drive-through line or traffic is backing up into oncoming traffic or town roads.
And
Okay.
that is my motion.
I'm not sure exactly what you said, quite honestly.
Okay.
I think the mitigation is to keep the traffic off of Collins, so whatever traffic mitigation's in place to ensure that there's not a traffic backup on Collins is, I
That's
think.
correct.
As long as you're saying that,
That is.
So
You can say it either
let me
way.
try it. So the motion is to approve the request with the condition that the applicant will take necessary steps to mitigate negative impact of traffic from the coffee shop.
On Collins Road, that's third way. Yes.
Is that good enough? Okay. Motion to approve by Egan,
I'll second.
second by Clark, to approve the above motion. I'm not going to repeat it. Everyone heard the motion. All in favor signify. All opposed. Motion passed 6-0. Thank you very much, Brian and Derek. Moving on to item number 9, that is to hold a public hearing, discuss and consider approving the first reading of Creekview Cove's Plan Development Ordinance 19-08, a request by Don Payne Ping Interest Incorporated to change the town's future land use plan from employment commercial to medium-density residential, and the zoning map from highway commercial and single-family 3 to single-family 5 plan development, Creekview Coves, Ordinance 19-08.
The applicant has submitted a zone change request in order to develop Creekview Coves, a proposed age-restricted residential plan development. It will encompass approximately 58 acres south of Highway 80, and the overpass near Wata Drive behind Bull's Pen Cafe, the former Bull's Pen Cafe. The property is mostly undeveloped aside from some sheds and other agricultural equipment, and is zoned SF3, a mixture of SF3 and highway commercial, so it's split zoned. The future land use category for the property is employment commercial, with the exception of community life and accent antiques to the west and the former Bull's Pen in the north. All surrounding land is undeveloped. Also, all land line of the south and southwest is located within floodplain. The applicant proposes to rezone the property to allow for the development of a master plan community. It would use SF5 as its base zoning district. The PD and applicant can request variations from the base zoning district development standards with regards to lot size, design standards, and proposed uses. The types of uses allowed and standards applicable to plan developments may vary from the base zoning district with which the district combines. In order to proceed with the proposed development, the applicant has requested a zone change and future land use plan amendment for the subject property. You all have the details. If the future land use, it would be from employment commercial to medium density residential, which is why it would be using SF5 as its own base zoning district. If the future land use designation is changed, the proposed plan development would adhere to the development intent for medium density residential category. Considering the fact that the tracts of land proposed do not directly abut US 80, it would be unlikely that a commercial business would acquire the land due to its lack of visibility from the highway. It is sort of recessed, and you all can see that in the map. Excuse me. Sorry. PD district is typically based on conventional zoning that most closely resembles the intensity. The proposed plan development would be constructed in accordance with SF5, except for the variations highlighted. I'll go through some of them for you. The main differences are going to be in minimum lot area, be a reduction, as well as maximum density per gross units per acre, 2.92, as opposed from 4.0. The lot width will also be reduced, the setbacks, the side yard setbacks, and other design features such as front-facing garages. With all that being said, our town engineer is considering, it has a recommendation, considering the density of the development and the fact that it directly abuts floodplain to the south and the southwest. The town engineer feels that this flood study should be conducted to verify that there will be no negative impact on the floodplain as a result of the development. In addition, due to the slope of the land and the current infrastructure in the area, a water capacity analysis will need to be performed prior to final design. If the concept plan is approved, it will be contingent upon positive results of said study. Public notice was provided in the town's official newspaper on December 26, 2018. Letters were also sent to budding property owners. A total of 8 letters were mailed. As of the reading of this memo, we have received 1 in opposition, none in favor, or actually, we have received a response which was printed out from you all from the Future Develop Hope Church in favor. You all can see the protest map and where that lies. Currently, the protest total is from 1 lot owner. It's 9.4%. All right, almost done here. You all can, with the staff's recommendation, more detailed plans and drawings will be provided at the preliminary plat level to ensure that every regulation required by town ordinance has been adequately addressed. I already gave you all the recommendations on town engineer, and as well as the 3rd and the 4th comments have already been addressed. and the proposed development zone changes are required to adhere to the future land use intent of the comprehensive plan. Staff may not recommend approval of such requests that do not adhere to the land use plan. Staff notes that this proposal does not adhere to the land use plan, although a residential land use could be appropriate in the subject area. Due to the isolation, retail commercial may not develop on the subject property as it is designated for commercial on the land use plan. If the amendments are approved, a development agreement should be finalized within 90 days of the approval of the plan development. Thank you. All right, no, that was a lot.
Thank you, Derek. Council, any questions for staff?
Eric, I just want to confirm, how many buildable or developable acres are there within this tract? What's the total gross acreage of the tract?
I believe it's 58 acres.
And that's the total acreage?
Yes. Yes,
Gross
that
acreage.
includes the floodplain along the
That
south.
includes the floodplain. So how many acres are effectively developable or buildable?
I can look into that more clearly, or the applicant can speak
Okay.
to it. I haven't gotten that.
And how many units are they talking about?
157
Okay.
was the last count that I
All right, good, thanks.
received. The applicant is here if you'd like to ask any questions.
Council, additional questions for staff at this time? Okay, the applicant here. Good evening, sir. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Bill Dahlstrom, 2323 Ross Avenue in Dallas. Thank you for the ability and the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight on what we think is a really exciting project. Eric did an excellent job of presenting the application, but again, we are in support and agreement with the P&Z's recommendation and some of the comments made by the city staff in their report. With me tonight, our Don Ping of Ping Interest is here tonight with Matt Unwald, our engineer with Kimley Horn, and Brian Mays. But again, we're proposing that Sunnyvale's first 55 and older community, just 55 and older, age restricted. And as Eric said, we're requesting a zoning change from the HC SF3 to a PD with SF5 conditions with modifications to those conditions. We're talking about 144 homes on approximately 50 acres. And Mr. Egan, our engineer, is calculating that right now, what that is. Thank you. This would equate to a medium density of 2.9 dwelling units per acre, including the floodplain. Net, it's 3.8 dwelling units, so that's still under the 4 units per acre. Again, it's aging in place, and we believe that this site is it's really not a retail or commercial area for the reasons we'll state later, but Eric addressed several of them, the access issue, the visibility issue, but something that's really dramatic is a topographic issue where there's a drop-off from a ridge down to the, I'll call it to the south, of approximately 50 feet. It makes it very difficult for commercial or retail development to occur on this property. Again, we are asking for a planned development district. The planned development districts, as we all know, is a tool that we can use to encourage a higher quality development, and we believe we are going to deliver that, and I'll get into that a little bit later as well. Would permit new and innovative concepts, which again, we think that this will do. As far as the modifications, Eric addressed a couple of them, the lot sizes, setbacks, and lot coverage. However, we're also requesting a larger home size as well. So there's a little bit of a give and take there as far as the SF5 goes. We're going to have a significant amount of open space and create a community on this property for 55 and older. And again, we think this is a great opportunity. There we go. There we go. A great option for Sunnyvale citizens to, once they reach the age where they want to downsize, and I think we all go through that, this will be a great location for them to downsize. It would allow residents, the Sunnyvale residents, to stay in Sunnyvale, maybe stay close to their extended families. Again, given the types of revenue that would be generated, it would be supporting the town and school districts and not having as much of a strain on the infrastructure. But the idea of creating a 55 and older is to create a community, a relaxed community, one that has casual outdoors. But the major intent is to provide a community where there's interaction among the residents in this type of a community. And again, with the outdoor amenities, recreational amenities, we are proposing that. Again, I think it's important that you create a strong sense of community in these types of developments. And that's what we are proposing with all of these amenities, all of this recreation. But also, it's a very high-quality development. The homes will be furnished with high-end finishes, things such as, hard material, resilient type counters, granite counters, quartz counters, those types of materials, high-quality cabinets, premium door designs and premium door materials, home automation. We're in the age of smart homes now. These will be the features that will be built into the homes. They'll be furnished for Amazon and Echo devices. They'll be pre-wired for central access points for Wi-Fi, so that you can maintain a strong signal throughout the entire house. You don't have your Wi-Fi hooked up in one part of the house like I do, and you lose your signal in another part. Radiant roof barriers, LED bulbs, water saving appliances, water filtration systems. And these are just standard features. These don't include the extra features that you may be able to get with these types of homes. So again, it's a very high quality project and development, luxury and low maintenance. Again, the opportunity for interaction with other residents in the community. We feel that there's an excellent opportunity. There's a market here in Sunnyvale for this kind of development. As we can see these graphics, there's a large population above the age of 55 that would be able to move into this community. And the population obviously is not getting any younger. We are all going to be faced with this kind of a decision. We've got some additional highlights as well. Entry features, beautiful entry features. Again, optional land donation for senior citizen amenities. Again, the final design to be determined. Increased tax base, again, with these types of communities, as you can imagine, very few students, if any. But the ad valorem revenue is, again, goes to the school district without the burden of having to provide educational facilities for students from this type of a development. We've calculated that there'll be, the homes will be in the range of $400,000 to $550,000. Average price would be $475,000. And based on those numbers, we're calculating approximately over $1 million a year in ad valorem for the school district, another $276,000 for the city. As we keep people in the city, we think that it'll generate more demand, more opportunities and demand for high-level, high-quality restaurants and retail in the community. So we think there's an added benefit, a secondary benefit, with this kind of community that has ripple effect in the market in the city of Sunnyvale, town of Sunnyvale. Access is an issue that I think is pretty interesting. Very good access right now to the site, and does this have you can see the off ramp and the former restaurant to the lower right. Our property, you have entrance on the west side of the tree line, and then over on the east side of the former restaurant. The former restaurant is, to my understanding, is being purchased by the church, which is building on the other side. So we've got two church uses that are going to be right in our front door. Visibility from this area, because of the topographic difference, the grade change, is pretty difficult for looking into the site. Again, visibility for commercial development is critical. It's very key. And you can see how, again, the visibility is bad. As Eric mentioned, the property is more to the back of these sites, and now you're going to be to the back of a church. There's a poor line of sight there for this type of a use. And this is a new Highway 80 design that we have discovered. Currently, the service road in front of our property is two-way. So if you were to come out on our eastern driveway, you could go either east or west on the 80 service road. However, with this new design of 80, the service road is going to be one way going eastbound. And as we all know, the turnaround going eastbound to go westbound is, pretty long way from this site. Point being, a retailer, commercial development, office building, they're not going to want to have to deal with this kind of access. Access is key. It's critical for any commercial or retail user. So we think that this obviously works against the property being used for a commercial use, but from a residential perspective, it's fine. Once the residents are in the community, that is something that they will get to learn. It's not as critical to the residential development as it would be for the commercial development. And again, as I mentioned, this is the driveway going back to the site. The church is being built on the left side of the screen, and on the right side is the former restaurant that's going to be converted, it's my understanding, into a church use as well. This is what I found to be a fairly compelling issue when I went out to the site and walked the site. You drive up to the former restaurant site, and there's a little bit of a ridge there from the service road. You get to the top of the ridge, and then all of a sudden you see it start rolling off to the south, towards the floodplain, obviously. Again, a commercial and retail developer is not going to want to have to deal with that kind of infill, retaining walls, grade changes. It's a very difficult site to develop for those commercial uses. For the single-family uses, those kinds of grade changes can easily be incorporated into the design. I mentioned our design team. I'd like to just sum up. I know a lot of discussion's been had concerning whether this is an ideal retail development site. Again, we mentioned the poor visibility, the text dot improvements, the impediment's going to be created there. The adjacent land uses in front are going to be a visual block to the sites in the back. You'll have to, retail and commercial development will have to deal with the grade changes with either significant retaining walls or some other kind of structures. Fire flow capacities, we are in total agreement with the city staff in having to provide those types of studies. But there are major benefits for the city of Sunnyvale, and this is the key. We are going to be providing the first strong sense of community for 55 and older housing in Sunnyvale. With almost 2,000 residents 55 and older, there's going to be a real demand for those of the Sunnyvale citizens who want to stay in Sunnyvale. This will be an excellent opportunity for them to stay in the city. I mentioned the additional tax revenue for the school district and the city, as well as a minimal impact on the school district as a result of, again, basically few, if any, students coming from the development. I mentioned the quality construction. Again, this is going to be a high-quality development, as I mentioned earlier, with the types of amenities and features in the homes. There's additional benefits of donating in the future the land for the Senior Citizen Center. Again, plenty of open space, trails, etc. We think that the residents who will live here will be more accessible to the retail and restaurant restaurants in the town of Sunnyvale, so there'll be, again, more interest in those as well, and again, limited impact on traffic. These types of developments, as you can imagine, generate very little traffic especially compared to a retail or commercial use. So we think this is a great location, a great site for this type of development. We're really excited about it. We've got some great designs, great thoughts, and we're really interested in creating this sense of community in this community in the town of Sunnyvale. Respectfully request your approval. Again, Mr. Ping's here, Mr. Dunwell here, our engineer, in case there are any detailed questions you would like to ask. But thank you again for this opportunity.
Would you remember to fill up that
Yes, sir,
yellow sheet for me,
absolutely.
please? Council, any questions for the applicant? Ms. Allen?
Mayor, I have one. With regards to the generated funds for our school district, could you better explain how that money is going to go to our school district?
Sure, it's ad valorem taxes, sir. The increase with the construction on the property will result in an increase in ad valorem taxes that get paid to the school district.
So that money goes to the state, and the state will redistribute that money per student to our schools, is that right? So if we don't have any kids going to the school, then I'm trying to figure out how that money is going to get to the school.
Well, again, it's collected by the appraisal district and the county and the school district, and again, it's a result of the increase in the ad valorem values and the ad valorem taxes that are paid.
So you'd agree that it's a very small amount, not that $1 million that you posted, correct?
Well,
to our school directly, to our school, not to the state school, but to our school of Sunnyvale.
no, I believe these are the figures that are based on the school district ad valorem tax rate. So this is what we calculated going to the school district as a result of the development, the increase in values, and the tax rate based on the school district's ad valorem tax rate.
Mr. Finch?
Mr. Dawson, thank you for that presentation. I appreciate taking the time to go through that with us. You made a couple of statements that I want to follow up on. Again, one of our concerns is impact to our schools. I think you've heard that already. You made the statement that very few, if not any, because it was my understanding is the age-restricted community that would limit the exposure of the amount of students it may bring to our school district. And you made the statement that said few, if not many. So how?
No, few if any.
So how would few come in to our school district if this is age restricted? And I'm just trying to clarify your statement.
I don't think there would be any.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also noticed in the proposed age restricted language, it stated that 90% of the residences would be required to have someone 55 and older. So why only 90%? Why not 100%?
Because some of the families, couples that may live there, one of the adults may be younger than 55.
So if it's truly age restricted, why would we not require that at least one person be 55 and older?
I think that's the intent.
Okay, maybe the intent, maybe I misread that, because it said that, I believed it said, and did I read that wrong? Because it said that at least 90% of the properties within the subdivision shall be occupied by at least one individual 55 age and older.
Yes, at least.
So at least 90% of the residences, not 100% of the residences shall have somebody 55 and older. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I'm just asking, is this, again, that's the first time I've seen this language, so I'm just curious why we would say 90, if it's a true age-restricted community, why would we say 90, not 100% have to have somebody 55 and older, at least one person?
I might be able to answer that.
Go ahead, Don.
Don Ping, 18210 Brighton Green, Dallas, Texas. Yeah, the reason that language is in there, in case, unfortunately, some people may pass away when they live there and their spouse may not be of age. So you have to have some kind of language in there that will allow some of those people to stay, even though they're not 55.
I got you.
Thank you.
That answers the question.
So that logic, can I follow up on that?
Sure.
So you're assuming that maximum 10% of the people will pass away, not more than that. Is that a fair assumption? Or what do you do? How do you control that?
It would have to be controlled by the HOA. And again, that language can be altered. It's just a starting point. Your attorney, once they look at it, if they decide they would like to add or change something, then we can
We just
do
try to
that.
understand your intent, that's all. We
Yeah.
just try to understand your
Oh, I
intent.
understand.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah, so further clarification of that, I understand the passing away of somebody negates their requirement for 55. But let's back up to the 19-year-old. So a college student comes home during the year. So they can't stay there more than 90 days for the year. Who's figuring that out? Who's checking that? And it doesn't have to be a college student. So how do we determine who's staying there and who's not staying there, and who's 19 years old and who's 21?
I guess, it's just, this is all controlled by HOA.
Okay.
So, Mr. Ping and Bill, again, thanks for your presentation, and I have a question. Recently, I went out to Robertson Ranch and had a great ride through Robertson Ranch, and they have an on-site director and an on-site community, an on-site person that manages many of these things we're talking about, but that's not what I understand that you're proposing. An HOA, which actually is not on-site, would be the one that would be managing this. Is that correct?
An HOA that's not on site?
Right. Most HOAs aren't on-site. They have
You mean the management company?
Management company.
Yeah, a lot of times and I'm assuming with this project, it will be managed by a management company.
On your presentation, you had several really nice slides. Some of them had some retail development on the slides. That's not in this that's not going to be in this community. There's no retail development, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that was just an example of.
I just want to sort for what's an example and what's not, if you don't mind. A couple other questions that I had for you with regards to amenities. Could you clarify exactly what amenities that are currently being proposed? A lot of pictures of some things that I didn't see in some written documents, so I wanted to know exactly what amenities are actually being proposed as written tonight in this development.
Well, there'll be a structure, a community center, and a pool, and all types of different games, like the pickleball thing and that type of thing. Outdoor living area, picnic tables, things like that.
Any tennis courts?
Well, it depends on, it's going to depend on what we actually end up with on our density, if we're allowed to do what we can do. Tennis courts are not inexpensive. So if it could fit in the budget and there was an allowance for that, we could, see what we could do about getting them put in. But, that's something that we can write in depending on what we end up with as far as the actual lot count.
Do you envision the community center being run by an on-site person or just a facility that can be used?
I believe that it won't be anybody that's on staff, that it would be something that would be controlled by the HOA members and the management company.
On the land that you're going to donate to the city, I'm assuming the city would then assume the responsibility for building the senior citizen community area that you're discussing?
I guess for the use of however the city felt necessary for it to be used.
Well, I think the last question I have for right now is with regards to the homes. I give you credit for the quality of home that you presented. I thought that was much better than some of the other senior citizen areas that I've observed and seen firsthand. But my question is, who's going to build these homes? Are y'all going to manage that home, or is there going to be a specific home builder that's going to build to that standard that you presented tonight?
Yeah, we're in talks with a builder for this particular site, and the amenities that we offered up is one of their standard amenities that they use.
You probably can't share who that builder is, can you?
Unfortunately, I can't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
So amenities are typically given to the town in exchange for granting variances and changes to the development. So what amenities are going to the town in this?
But we had proposed the senior center.
Okay, so that's a good deal. I like the senior center, but you're building that on your property,
Right.
or maybe you're not even building it. Maybe you're just giving us some land for it. So what is the attraction for the town to have a senior center way off down yonder? Excuse my country talk there. Way off down yonder, away from the town, away from most of our citizens, driving down there to go to the senior center, and then, as you so eloquently pointed out, having to make the big loop, almost to Forney, to come back to their residences. So what value is that to our citizens?
Well, we think it adds part of this whole development. We think that, excuse me, given the types of amenities we're going to provide, they're going to be amenities that are intended for people 55 and older, which this would, again.
I'm looking at a lot of folks out in the audience who are either active adults or senior citizens, not excluding some up here on this council, and none of us live in that area down there. So we're going to drive 4 miles to go to the senior center inside your development, behind the churches, and we're going to call that an amenity for the town. I'm not there yet. Amenities to the town are things that
I
are
do understand.
open.
I do understand it's part of this entire development. And if the town does want the senior citizen, we'll dedicate it. If not-
Probably there's a
if
land
not, then-
swap somewhere that puts a senior center somewhere up in our planning for a downtown corridor. So I'm thinking it's more accessible to, and that's just your contribution as a start to this. Something about the amenity center.
So let me ask you, the amenity center as you planned, I'm going to follow up on his question here, is that meant for the residents of this neighborhood, or is it for the entire city, entire town?
Well, the segregated property that we showed on our plan that would be something that the city can use for, a senior citizen, senior citizen center, or I guess you could use it for whatever you wanted to use it for. If you didn't want to use it for that, you could pick another use as well.
So for all intents and purposes, you're providing the land, you would provide the land that's within your development that would be something that anybody within the town could go use.
That's correct.
Basically the bottom line.
Right. I'm assuming that eventually, at some point, you're probably going to have more than one location in the city, depending on how the development of the city proceeds forward. I'm assuming there's going to be another 55-plus neighborhood at somewhere. So,
Is this gated?
oh, no, it is not.
Have you given any consideration to a gated community?
It's something that we can look at, yes. I did, at one point, we were looking at a larger development. We were hoping to be able to bring in some more property, and it didn't work out. But at one point, we were going to have a section of the property that was going to be gated.
Thank you. And just to follow up one more, sorry about that, Mark. Just to follow up one more time on our amenity center, just so I'm clear on this. The amenities you talk about, pickleball, all that stuff, you would donate the land and it would be up to the town to build these type of facilities that you spoke of as far as the amenities. Is that correct?
No, we're going to have an actual amenities center that we're going to build. that the builder will build.
I didn't see that, and the reason I asked is I didn't see that on the housing plan. I guess I missed, on the submittal, I missed where that location, I see Amenity Center, the land, but I guess I have a misunderstanding of what land you would donate to the town for a senior center versus where you would put your amenity center. Does that make sense? Rachel, I don't know if you can throw that, I know it's gonna cause you to switch
Throw one of
programs.
those concept plans up.
Yeah, the concept plan that was submitted, and again, I understand it's a concept, so I'm just want to clarify kind of what we're talking about. I think that's where some confusion is. Where's your amenity center, since it's not shown on the concept plan, versus where are you proposing to donate some land to the town?
The PP plan. In that, if you look up in that top left corner,
You're talking right here, right?
yes,
So this is what's donated to the town, or is this what we're going to?
that would be the donation area up there.
Donate
Yes,
Where would your, okay, now I see your.
Yeah.
It's not on my plan. This is your, okay, I see that.
yeah.
It's not on my plan.
And that's just a generic
I understand.
slap-on kind of deal.
So I know we often play games with numbers, and I'm not an engineer, but it was stated there's 58 acres here, and you've indicated that some 20 acres are in green space. And we know that typically about 20% of it, acreage is taken up with streets and easements and so forth. So if I just do a quick math, that means there's about 30 acres left. And we've got 157 homes on 30 acres. That's, quick math just says that's about 5 homes per acre.
We got roughly 45 acres usable space, and a portion of that, which is, I believe, 12 acres. That can come up. I think 12 to 14 acres is being used for amenities and other spaces, and then the rest is flood zone.
Okay, so that's still got my 30 acres, so I take 45 less 14. I haven't got anything for streets yet. So
Yeah, we're not including streets. So.
well, they gotta have some. And, so that's still 30 acres. And 157 homes on 30 acres is right at 5 homes per acre. I mean, I need some help from the engineering folks, but my calculator works. Help us here.
Matt Dunwald, 13455 Knoll Road, Dallas, Texas. I'm with Kimley Horn. Sorry, could you repeat the question? You had a question on the
Okay,
open
so,
space calculation?
so there's 57, 58 acres. I mean, depending
Total.
on which sheet of paper you take.
Okay.
And you just told us that 45 were usable acres. Okay?
There's 12.1 acres. that
And
is
so
in
there's
floodplain.
12 to 14 acres in amenities, which are not buildable on for houses, homes. So that means there's like 30 acres to build on, homes. We're building 157 homes on 30 acres. Help me here with the math.
Yeah, so I think, depending on which exhibit you look at, we have one with the concept plan and an open space plan. There's 12.1 acres of open space.
Okay?
Now, if you include the amenity center as, take that area in, you're at 20 acres, but your net buildable is just less floodplain area, correct?
Yeah,
When
I
you do your
hear you.
calculations. So it'd be
Right.
your streets and right-of-way divided by your total
Right.
acreage, which was 45 point, whatever it was. Yeah, 3.42, something to that regard.
Okay, so you're using gross developable acres.
Gross would be much lower, it's 2.9, and then for the
Okay, so
net.
you're using net developable acres,
Yep,
but you're counting the
developable.
floodplain,
For the net, you would take out the
That's
floodplain.
floodplain?
Correct.
but you're counting the amenity center.
Not in the 12.1, that would, correct. You
Okay,
would, you could
so
add
what's the
more acres to that.
12.1 represent?
The 12.1 is all the acreage within the floodplain.
Okay, your literature that went out said there's 20 acres of green space.
That's what the dedication
So
of the
where does the
amenity-
20 acres come in?
The addition of the amenity center and potential land donation to the city is additional green space.
Okay.
That's just what I wanted.
Eric, can you gather up all those numbers for us before the next meeting? And let's get our calculations.
I have a couple of questions here. So, since you said the pictures are sometimes just representation, there was a picture of a house, beautiful house. Is it a single-story or one-story houses?
Well, there'll probably be mostly single-story homes, I'm assuming. There'll probably be occasional 2 stories here and there.
Do we know the
But-
distribution of the 157? What percentage will be
I'm sorry, I didn't-
of the 157? Do you know how many will be 2-story?
oh, I
Too early?
yeah, I have no idea.
Okay, good. And you talked about when the Highway 80 comes, you got to go to the right before you can get back in town, right? So help me understand, how does the addition of these houses going to increase retail business? Because if people have to drive all the way to the right and then come back, I wonder how many of them are going to come this way rather than going the other side. They're going to Phony. So the same struggle the retail has, this developers will have.
Well, from what I understand, talking to TxDOT, is that they're under the assumption that the frontage roads for 190 will go in about the same time that they're going to do the improvements on 80. So they're going to apparently build a bridge down there that crosses over the road where it floods most of the time down there. That's, I guess, where the crossing is going to be. And so if that happens, it's only like a mile or so going east to the bridge and then coming back across. And then they'll have an access point right directly onto 80 from that new frontage road. I got him.
Council, additional questions for the applicant?
A couple of things, actually 3 things. Well, maybe 2 of them are together. The entrance exit road that you've got going out to what would continue to be the highway commercial zone. We just went through pretty significant round of issues with a piece of property a little bit to the west of here, where it was property that it was one time zoned highway commercial. It got moved to be residential. Houses got built, pieces of property left that were highway frontage property. That's where we ran into, that's where the train wreck was. It's a pretty big train wreck. I don't see any mechanism here. If I were doing this development and knowing a little bit of the history of the town, I would have picked up the whole acreage off to the east, going up to the floodplain, with respect to within the area bounded by what 190 will do when it comes in. It's not going to go, 190 is going to consume part of that, but it prevents a train wreck that we don't need to go through again. I'd ask that you look at that real closely and see what you can do there. The second thing I would ask is that, and this was talked about quite a bit when we were going through the UDO, while our codes say we want curvilinear streets, what it doesn't say and what we are trying to drive to is curvilinear streets, but not parallel curvilinear streets. We've already got a scenario of a big horseshoe set of streets in the town that it's curvilinear, but it's 3 streets in parallel. And when you fly over it in an airplane, which I have tended to do a lot in the past, It's not the Sunnyvale. That doesn't represent the Sunnyvale I like to see. The Sunnyvale that I like to see, and I think that we have all tried to strive for as much as possible, is one where there's random character. And by getting that random character and taking advantage of the land and the topography of the land, which admittedly, this does have some nice topography to it, I think that we could do some things, or some things could be done in there that would improve the character of what this property looks like. And I'm not speaking about just from above, but also when you're at street level and you're driving down the streets and you're going through areas. If you go over down here to the falls, you begin to get an idea of that random character of the streets. The winding, meandering type road, which gives, is as urban as we are, and we know we are getting more and more urban every day. We want to manage as much of that urbanality and keep it as rural as possible. Now I realize you've got a responsibility to make money for the company, and you've got to have a certain number of rooftops to be able to make the margins and make the money that you need to make. By the same token, we need good, high-quality rooftops in our town to help further stimulate economic development. But as we've pointed out here, it's a realization I didn't really think about that much. I actually thought the two means of ingress, egress were satisfied until I began to think about, through some of the discussions here, how far east you have to go before you can come back west again. And if I'm doing my grocery shopping and I happen to be one of the people that are that elderly age, that I'm not going back west. I'm going east, further east to the grocery store in Forney before I go back to a grocery store that might be in Sunnyvale or maybe even in Mesquite. You know, we just need to think through a little bit bigger picture of what's at stake here, along with, you know, I agree that you're under the 4 dwelling units per acre. It's a number that I've never been real appreciative of. I think that we can do better, and in fact, in doing some research this afternoon, Garland just passed a development on the Old Eastern Hills Golf Course area that abuts Lake Ray Hubbard. Has 178 acres. I don't remember how many of the acres are in floodplain area, but the topography and the character to that property, other than the highway access being adjoining, is very similar to what we're talking about here. And they're down at 3 dwelling units per acre based on usable production area. It discounts all of the floodplain. This is usable production area. That's where the calculation is made. I think this property, as I've thought about it and did the study and research that I was doing this afternoon, it's like I think we can get better. I realize this is the first chomp at the bit, or whatever that term is you might use. But I think that we can do better, and this gives, you've gotten an opportunity here now to hear what this council has to say and think about it. I just think that we can, we don't have a long way to go. I just think it needs a little bit of work.
Council, additional questions for, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
So a question about the public safety. I think you had mentioned that you had talked to the fire and police, and they were okay with the positioning of the on-ramps and whatnot. You know, are they comfortable with, I guess I'd like to hear from them too. You know, it seems like it's kind of far off, and it may be hard to get public safety out there, you know, police and fire. And so is that a concern from the fire police, and have you guys discussed that with them?
This is the first I've heard of this development, so nobody's been in communication with me.
As far as I know, the staff's, you know, we've had meetings with the staff, and the fire department was there, and I believe we did have law enforcement there, somebody from law enforcement, but
Usually law enforcement doesn't attend the pre-development.
oh, okay. So, As far as access, I mean, I can't see where it would be restricted for access from either department, so, I mean.
Right, it's, you know, there's a long on-ramp, there's a long frontage road to get there from one side.
Actually, you can exit right off of 80 and access our second.
Oh, the second entrance?
Yeah, the
Okay.
second entrance. And then the other entrance, you can come out and go right through the bridge. Either access point can go to the bridge.
Right, okay.
Are there additional questions for the applicant? We thank you for patiently answering all these questions. At this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Please take your seat. This is a public hearing item, so at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. If anyone from the citizen would like to come forward and talk to the council, please come forward. Good evening.
Emery Powell, 109 Sunbird Lane. I sent the town council a detailed analysis of this project a few weeks ago, but I just wanted to add a couple of comments. In our comprehensive plan, we envision a retirement community for Sunnyvale. I think it's something we've all kind of looked forward to at some point in our, as we age. I'm starting to get there where keeping my 1 acre of landscaped lawn and bushes manicured is becoming a more difficult task each day. But I'm not sure that this is the type of development that we envision in our comprehensive plan. When we go from down to the SF5 is a 7,000 square foot lot minimum, and this takes us down to 6,000. It takes us down to a 50-foot frontage on a lot with houses 10 feet apart from each other, which means I can basically lean out the window and shake my neighbor's hand. Not something I'm too enthusiastic about doing. In the last 2 weeks, I visited about a dozen retirement communities. Not one single one of them, out of maybe 3,000 houses, was more than 1 story, because they were focused on seniors, and when most of us retire and we move to a place that's going to be our senior living, it's 1 story. As I campaigned for town council last time around, I had quite a few neighbors tell me that they would probably have to move out of Sunnyvale because there was no place they could afford. It wasn't just about downsizing from 5,000 feet to 2,000 feet. It was about reducing their monthly costs. And at 500,000 average cost or 475 average cost, that's not really downsizing. So I don't really see this as a community neighborhood where very many Sunnyvale residents are going to want to retire to, especially after living in big open spaces, 50-foot houses tucked right next to each other. I've been there, I've seen that. That's where my daughter lives, and I can see 6 backyards from her upstairs window. So that's not retirement community for Sunnyvale. The biggest issue that I find is the age restriction. This age restriction is really 19 plus, as opposed to age 55. It's a token age 55 type of housing development, but the only restriction is really that you can't be a resident and be older than 19 or less than 19. So, and then I was a little more concerned to hear the very same words you heard, where it says, well, very few students, if any. Well, what does that mean? It's either no students or it's students. And if it's some students, then it's going to be more students. The age restriction has to be buried in the deed. It has to be a deed restriction, not an HOA rule. HOAs can amend their rules anytime they want. If it's in the declaration, that's a little bit harder, but it can still be amended. Deed restrictions cannot be amended. All the senior development communities I've visited were deed restricted communities, and there was no absolute. There were absolutes. There was no, well, maybe this, maybe that. One of the biggest problems with this one is is if you start with a person age 55 or older, that's a good starting point, but then it very specifically says in the proposed age restrictions, it says each unit must be occupied by at least one individual 55 years of age or older, provided, however, and this is a big exception, that once a property is occupied by an age-qualified occupant, other qualified residents of the property may continue to occupy the property regardless of the termination of the age-qualified occupant's occupancy. In other words, once that person who was 55 decides to move, decides to rent, dies, gets sick, goes to a rest home or whatever else happens, then whoever is living there may continue to living there, or if it's sold, gets sold to somebody else, or the daughter inherits. What I find, I've had dozens of rental properties, and what I find my biggest problems is you rent it to an older woman who's a widow, and pretty quick she's got her daughter living with her, and pretty quick her boyfriend moves in with her, and he's a never-do-well. And now you got problems in the neighborhood, and it starts to spiral down. I think we need senior living in Sunnyvale, but I think it needs to be senior living that Sunnyvale residents are going to live in, as opposed to packing in a whole bunch of houses that can be two-story houses and certainly don't qualify for senior living, and very variable age in terms of who can live there and who can't live there, which seems to be kind of up in the air. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Good evening, Mr. Franklin.
Deborah P. Franklin. I live at 629 Pecan Creek Drive. Desperately, I agree with him, we desperately need a senior citizen facility, and y'all have all mentioned the same thing. I'm going to be honest. To me, this looks like a neighborhood. And the reason why I did the same thing, I'm so glad, Councilman Allen, that you did your research and went to places and got in touch with places, because I did the same thing. And every one that I talked to 5, but 3 I really liked. And it's a resort type of facility. But it's also, this one woman, and I wrote this down that I really liked, she said, the reason why they have a really good community service center that does have an actual employee that works there is that they want constant classes, constant activities going, so that no one feels isolated and no one is just stuck in their house. And these places, they have golf courts, tennis, courts, that pickle, I don't know what that pickle ball is or whatever, I might have to look that up. And, but they mentioned it. But they've got bowling. They have over 100 chartered clubs, a library, restaurants, fitness center, barbershop, beauty shop. And what I'm concerned about, one, do y'all know what the square footage of this community center is going to be? Is there going to be a kitchen in it? Is it going to have tables and chairs? Will they have anyone that's in charge as far as activities or anything like that? Do y'all know on that he's talking about, the community service? And why are they 2-story houses? And I bet the same thing with you found they were 1-story houses at Robeson. That's what it was. And it was on the villages in Florida and the Sun City West. They also have a facility for a medical facility on their places. Everything is catered around, and all 3 places, because I forgot to ask on the other 2, that children are allowed 1 month a year, 18 or younger. But they said no one takes the whole month. They usually do it week by week, like Christmas, Easter, to come visit the grandparents, summer, something like that. But I said, how do they keep up with it? She says, we're very strict about it, that we, keep up with them. They have to sign in, sign out, things like that. So, because I love those little fellas, but, there are times if it's just constantly out there, that's why you have a senior facility. And golf courts, all of their garages are set up for golf carts, because it's a golf cart community. And the houses, they run, which I really liked, the lowest square footage was 700, I think it was, square footage, and it goes up to almost 3,000 square footage. But the last one is a custom made. These are like little patio homes, because my other question is, I noticed there's a lot of grass around the houses. Who takes care of that? Another thing I noticed in the pictures, but I don't know if these are the houses they're going to build, they have steps going up to the front door on an incline. As we get older, until I had my knee replacement, I couldn't have gone up those stairs. Where these, at these other three facilities, they're, you drive right up to your driveway. Now, one of them had frontage, the driveways facing the street. The other two had the driveways in the back. I mean, the driveways, the garages in the back. But everything, they even have, which I love this, they had, hold on a minute, life alert facilities and the houses wired, levers on the faucets. The kind of lights, instead of the flipper light, because they said people with arthritis, they have these, I can't remember what they called, levers. They have walk-in showers where you can also roll in. They do not have hallways. Everything is open, because, and then the doorways, when you do go through, they're wide enough for a wheelchair. And let's see what else they've got. They are all gated communities, and trying to think of anything else. But I wish they would just replan this, because we do need something so badly. But I don't know why we've got these big houses, because that's something I would want to downsize to, which these other people have also that I've interviewed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Franklin. Good evening.
Ted Mays, 236 Mallard Drive, Sunnyvale, Council Mayor. As you can see, I'm not close to retirement age, not even close, but.
Me neither.
Moving here, a big part was y'all's zoning map. I love the zoning map. I'm going to be a huge tax base. My generation's going to be a huge tax base. Changing zoning maps because you really need something for a town doesn't make it the right fit. And I mean, this is just common sense. Someone bought a bad piece of land. They're trying to sell you on an idea because they know you want something to say, hey, we'll be the first ones to give it to you. And as the sheriff representation said, he hasn't heard anything about it. And one of the letters I got was our sheriff bill just went up to how many millions of dollars? No gated community, no security. And then the response times to 135 homes like that, no. Just keep that in mind about the added cost to our tax base. I know you're looking at school savings. Trust me, it's one of the reasons I moved here. I'm not looking forward to my tax bill come January, not even close. But I won't be looking to it even more is if we get another $1 million for sheriff expenses. Because then y'all are going to have a lot bigger problems going on than just supplementing school. Oh, this is the benefit to our taxes here, but it's coming out of our taxes over here. So just please keep that in mind, what that added cost will be.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyone else? Okay, no one else is, yes, sir? Come on in, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Again, I appreciate everybody's comments tonight. I just wanted to respond to a few of them because I think a couple of them, yeah, we're open to modifying and tightening up the language. I think that's come out a couple times. The HOA is actually going to be part of a deed restriction, so that will be a deed restriction that runs with the land. It'll have to be. I'm glad the question was raised about who takes care of the grass because I forgot that point. The HOA will take care of the front yards, and the owners will have the option to allow the HOA to take care of the backyards as well. So the front yards will be taken care of by the HOA. We just think this is the highest and best use of the property. We don't think it's a commercial or retail tract of land. We think it's a great opportunity, but we're here willing and able to work with y'all on all these issues and to work through this. So thank you again very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. So this is only the first reading. So we will have this back on the agenda for the second reading, and I'll receive more public comments at that time. That'll be on March 25th. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
We need to discuss that, what we need to see or want to see.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Mr. Powell brought out the fact that, we are looking for a senior-type community. This is not a senior-type community. And it's not, by definition, it's not. It's active adult community. And that's not what I think we envisioned when we put senior living facility or community in the comprehensive plan. So this does not meet in my opinion, does not meet the spirit or intent of the comprehensive plan. As we go through and see how we want to vary from our ordinance, I think Mr. Dahlstrom just hit the nail on the head. It is a beautiful piece of property, perhaps. It might be a good place for homes to be built. It might be good for homes of $500,000 to be built there. But I don't envision it being good for 157 homes to be built on. You can provide a nice neighborhood community and still call it active adults without 157 homes, without 6,000 square foot lots. I don't want to pretend for any minute that this is going to be a benefit to our school. I don't have any confidence whatsoever that we'll be able to regulate 55 years old, that we'll be able to keep children out of it. I don't see anybody from the school here tonight to talk about the grandparent rule. They don't have to live there overnight. They just have to come there after school or before school. So they will be there. So that probably means that there'll be a bus route through there. Could be. Don't even know if the streets are wide enough for buses. Don't know what they are yet. So I don't have any confidence in that. Also, it doesn't limit how many 19-year-olds can be there. I've got 3 grandkids. One's a senior and 2 are in college. That's 3. So I think there's a whole lot of stuff here we don't quite understand and don't see any documents to deal with that. But overriding is it's being proposed that we alter almost every single requirement in our development ordinance. I mean, every single one of them is a variance of some. And I'm real concerned about that, especially when we talk about the fact that it's meeting our desire for a senior community. It's not meeting our desire for a senior community. And I don't think it's a retirement community either. It's in the wrong location. It may not be suitable for retail and so forth, but it might be. Not everything has to have a highway frontage, especially when we're fixing to have a 6-lane Highway 80 with 2 new bridges and 190 intersecting with it. There's a whole lot of potential as to what this area could do. So I'm real concerned about it. And I think one of the things that we have to do if this thing moves forward is we have to see the HOA agreement before we approve this development. Not afterwards, not for the attorney to review, but I want to see the HOA agreement and understand what the restrictions are. Thank you.
there are additional comments or requests? Mr. Allen?
Mr. Mayor, I want to echo an awful lot what Congressman Wade said, that I think potentially we need a senior citizen area in this town. I'm over 50, under 60, and quite honestly, this doesn't meet the need for anything I can see my life being in the next 15 years. But that's me personally, and I know that that's not the feeling of everybody in our town. I'm concerned about giving up our highway commercial zoning. I'm really concerned about that. We've been through some other areas and situations before I get it, but I'm still concerned about giving up the land that is zoned for highway commercial and what it could do for us. I don't think we're going to lose sight of that during this topic. I think it'll be in the back of all our minds. It is refer to the development itself, not repeating everything that's been said. I've got grave concerns that this doesn't meet the needs of what our town envisioned, and that is an active lifestyle where people are catered to. They don't feel like they've been stuck in a square hole, a square piece of land, and we'll see at New Hope Funeral Home. Just my way of processing life, not derogatory toward anybody, but for the next 15 or 20 years, I'd like to be active in a community that helps us when I reach that point. Again, I have a hard time seeing that, but when we reach that point, we need help, then it's there to develop it and coordinate it. I think, as Ms. Deborah pointed out, it's a fully developed and a fully self-empowered community that reaches the needs. Some other things I probably would ramble about, but I want to go to this. I felt like we'd probably only have one person that spoke against this tonight, and yet we had three, which is probably a lot for our town. More importantly, Ted, I missed your last name. You're right. You're a long way away from retirement. I appreciate you coming tonight. I know you're under 50, probably over 20. We'll leave it at that. But this decision impacts you. This is a 50-year decision that we make, and it won't impact me, not directly, but it will impact you. And I think it's important that you stay engaged and that your comments were well heard, and I appreciate that, as Ted, for coming up and speaking. I don't know where we go from this, but I've got concerns that this does not meet the expectations of what I think our community is looking for.
Mr. Clark?
Right. So, you know, I think I agree with a lot of what the council members have been saying. You know, I think creating an active adults community, actually I should say retirement community or a senior living community, is a great idea and something that we need to do here in Sunnyvale. I think we need that. And it is part of our long-term plan. Generally, I like the fundamentals of this concept, but maybe it's just that we do need a retirement community or a senior living community. But I'm not in favor of this development currently. You know, right now we have about, I think it's estimated that 10,000 homes are going to be coming into Mesquite on the 20 corridor. They just annexed a bunch of land a few years ago, and so there's going to be roughly 10,000 homes coming in that area, and there's estimated 20 to 30,000 homes coming into Forney. So we're going to have a lot of homes around here, and I'm sure some of these new projects in these surrounding communities are going to have retirement centers or maybe active adult community centers, you know, and they may actually even look very similar to this. Very, very grid-like and you know, somewhat straight lines. This reminds me of a cookie-cutter community from a suburbia that's just changed to attract, to go after the 55 and plus crowd. But I think the biggest concern that I have is that this property is currently zoned as commercial, and Sunnyvale needs commercial development. As 80s expands and the east side of Dallas continues to grow, we're going to have 190 come here very soon, you know, a few years down the road, but it'll be here soon. We need to grow and build our businesses. I'm therefore in favor of keeping it as commercial. You know, let's look 10 to 15 years down the road. You know, what do we want? What do we need? Let's not just look for immediate residential growth right now. Let's look for long-term. What do we want? You know, I agree with Larry. You know, and when he was talking to Ted, you know, this is our town. What do we want it to be in 15, 20, 30 years from now? You know, what I'd like to see is maybe some out-of-the-box thinking. I think we said it's not very good for retail, but it is commercial. What other commercial growth could we have there? I've talked about this a little, but what I'd like to see is maybe some small to medium-sized corporation there. Maybe go out of state and have them relocate here to Texas. I think the state of Texas has done a great job of having corporations relocate. There's a international car company that just came north of us. Maybe we go after something maybe not that big, but maybe something a little smaller, small corporate or medium-sized corporate. And, focus on maybe using this, is it 58 acres, 57, 58 acres? Maybe that could be a good corporate headquarters. Again, maybe it's not good for retail, but maybe it could be something else like a corporate headquarters. And, we have the best schools in the entire state. We have great homes that would make a corporate C-level community really enjoy living here. Upper management would love living here. And so why don't we go after something like that? I'm all for the development of the property, but I think it's the wrong development to have a active adult 55-plus community like this, at least how it currently stands. And the other issue is public safety, which I addressed earlier. I would like, if this does move forward, I would like some more discussions with the developer and with the police chief and with the fire chief, and just make sure that there aren't any concerns from our public safety about this development. So converting commercial land into residential is not the right strategy in my mind, and I think that we really need to keep this commercial. So, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Adams?
Mr. Mayor, I need to either apologize or congratulate Congressman Wade. I apologize. I've received more than one text, so I must have said it.
Mr. Mayor?
Congratulations or condolences, I'm not
Yes,
sure.
sir.
I think the procedure would be either to vote it down tonight or vote to have it on the next agenda.
Okay. Council, let me ask you a question. Would you like to vote on it tonight, or would you like to bring it back next time?
Mayor, I'll suggest that under the guidelines or I shouldn't say guidelines, but under the rules, if they were to make a substantially different change, which I think is what we are moving toward if they want to continue with this development, that if we were to vote it down tonight, they could easily come back in a short period of time. Normally, when we vote it down, they
If
have
it's
to wait
voted
a
down,
year.
typically they can't come back in with a period of
Unless
time
it's substantially different.
I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you'd have to see it actually to make that ruling, but y'all have asked for quite a few things.
Otherwise, we vote it to be on the next one and they get a chance to retool, or if they would like to table.
You don't have to vote it to be the next one, because it can be second reading. The question is, do you
could
want to
table
vote on this? I'm sorry?
You could table this one if you need more time than the 2 weeks.
Why do we want to table it?
If you needed more time than 2 weeks.
I don't need more time. Everybody needs more time?
Well, the applicant might want more time to retool.
They didn't ask for that.
We haven't given them a chance.
But he is saying that, yes, you would need to,
You need to vote on it.
a motion either way.
Okay.
To
Mayor.
move to the second reading.
Just 1 second. I'm sorry, Rachel? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure you were clear on what David said. We need a motion either way, a motion to move it to the second reading or a motion to.
And I'm ready to make a motion.
We would be agreeable to tabling, to address some of the issues that have been raised that we haven't heard until tonight.
Thank you.
We would request that, sir. Okay.
I'm going to call for a motion with respect to the application from, sorry, I got lost my meeting minutes. I'm going to call for a motion from, with respect to the request from Creekview House Plan Development Ordinance 19-08, a request by Don Ping Interest Incorporated to change the town's future land use plan from employment commercial to medium-density residential, and the zoning map from highway commercial and single-family 3 to single-family 5, plan development, Creekview Coves, ordinance 19-08. Is there a motion on the table?
Mayor, I make the motion to deny the request by Don Ping to change the town's future land use plan from employment to medium-density residential, and the zoning map from highway commercial and single-family 3 to single-family 5 plan development.
Motion made by Mr. Wade to deny the request from Don Ping Interest Incorporated to change the town's future land use plan from employment commercial to medium-density residential, and the zoning map from highway commercial and single-family 3 to single-family 5 plan development, Creekview Coves, ordinance 19-08. Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Mayor, if it's just, it could be denied with prejudice or without prejudice. With prejudice, it would have to be substantially different. Coming back forward without prejudice, it would not be.
Okay. Let me ask the,
With prejudice, come back substantially.
okay, so the motion made by Mr. Wade with prejudice to deny the application from Don Ping. The motion was seconded by Mr. Egan. Everyone heard the motion. Any additional discussions? All in favor of the motion signify. All opposed. Motion was rejected. 6-0. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Motion carries to reject the application from Don Ping, to deny with prejudice.
Mayor, can I clarify that was with prejudice? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 10, to hold a public hearing, discuss and consider the second reading of ordinance 19-07, an ordinance amending the Town Unified Development Ordinance, ordinance 17-09, duly passed by the Town Council on March 26, 2018, as amended from time to time, so as to review and amend section 3.06.09.b supplemental regulations, as well as any other associated sections. Eric?
Yes, this last came to you on the February 11th meeting. Since then, staff has made multiple attempts to contact USPS Growth Coordinator. Maybe 3 different parties we've tried to make contact with through phone and email, and have not received any responses. So with that being said, I know that Councilman Egan, Councilman Wade, Mr. Allen, you all have questions for me that I would really like to get answered by USPS, concerning location of mailboxes, contingencies of reconstructing them if they're destroyed, and that sort of thing. So I'd humbly ask that you all allow us to postpone this until contact is made.
Council, would that be okay to postpone this item? Yes.
Can we ask one question?
Yes, Mr. Wade.
It's fine to postpone, of course. I noticed in the previous application, it pointed out that mailbox banks are allowed as opposed to required. So we need to clarify that with regards to future developments, because we're probably headed towards required instead of allowed.
Yes.
That means something different to me.
Yes, sir. And it's also, Mr. Allen, we want to look into possibly relocating some of the existing ones that have been put out, so that would not be a requirement. We're seeing if something that we can maybe incentivize, but yes.
And remember that we're concerned about whose responsibility it is to replace those which are damaged.
Yes.
Okay, if that's the case, can I have a motion to table ordinance -1709 for a
Ma'am.
future date? Yes, sir. I'm
You
sorry.
need a specific date for table.
Okay.
You can say, how long do you need? How long do you need?
2 months, 1 month?
2 months would be great. That way you can ensure that. Last time when Rashad attempted to make
They can
contact
find
with
it,
them,
they
it
can find
it
it.
took a month just to get a response. So.
So I'll come back to discussion second, okay? asking for a motion to table ordinance 17-09.
So moved.
I'm sorry, thank you very much. 1907 for the first week in May, first meeting in May, correct? So
And quick clarification. Who can you not get in touch with?
Our local growth coordinator, his last name's Stacy, been making attempts to contact him, as well as his supervisor too. Are you familiar with
Okay.
some?
No, I'm just, so this is the post office?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, every area has a district growth coordinator that works with cities and developers to find out proper locations for the boxes and that sort of thing.
Right.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Egan to table this one. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alan. Are there additional discussions on this one? Mr. Allen, do you have a comment? Okay, all in favor of tabling this ordinance? Motion passed 6-0. Moving on to the finance portion of the agenda to discuss and consider approving the proposal for the audit of the annual financial statement. Ms. Hopkins?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. It was that time that every 5 years we have to send out an RFP for our audit services. We sent out 5. We got 1 back. We still, after having looked at their qualifications and their references, we still feel that we recommend approval for Fox, Bird and Company.
So that is for 1 year, but the option for additional 4 years, correct?
Yes.
And I looked at the rates. Rates stays somewhat same from year to year.
Yes.
Council, any questions for Ms. Hopkins? If not, can I have a motion to approve the proposal for the audit of the annual finance statement? Staff recommendation is to appoint Fox, Bird, and Company PC. Is that for 1 year?
It's for 1 year and 4 subsequent years.
Okay, for 1 year and 4 subsequent years.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Egan to approve staff recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Finch to approve staff recommendation to appoint Fox, Bird, and Company PC for 1 year with 4 option years. Everyone heard the motion? Any additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Moving on to the last item, that is to mayor and council requests for future staff updates and agenda items. Council, any other any requests? Okay.
Oh, I do.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
So when we talk to the post office, I'd like us to continue pushing back on these big old pods. Can we continue to push back and look at alternatives, keep on asking if we can get exceptions, whatnot, so we can actually get individual units? Yes. Yes, let's put that to the top of the list. Keep on pushing back. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to the executive session item. So I'm going to, at this time, I'm going to recess into the executive session pursuant to Chapter 551, Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code. Can I have a motion to recess into executive session?
So moved.
Motion made by Egan.
Second.
Second by Clark to recess into executive session. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Now time is 8:58 and we are in executive session. Thanks.
participate? Can make fun. Have you on our P's and Q's? Actually, I think I'm out of camera range. I know.
gotta have a way to get a wheelchair up and things that, like this guy is selling right her house. So that one, am I going right by one of these going on? They're gonna go round that right there. It's gonna go and they all that. No, isn't that right? Yeah, exactly. Everything's open except they'll have like over to the side. But
couple of them.
Don't, I'm not looking at you.
Okay, now time is, 9:21. Let me reconvene to the regular session of the Town Council, Town of Sunnyvale for March 11th. Council has a result of the executive session. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to compensate the assistant town manager for time served as interim town manager.
Motion made by Mr. Finch to authorize the town manager to
compensate
the assistant town manager for the time
served.
she served as the interim town manager.
Second?
Second, motion made by Finch, second by Clark. Everyone heard the motion? Additional discussions? All in favor of the motion signify. All opposed. Motion passed 6-0. Did you 6-0? Thank you, thanks, Wesley, one more time for your service.
I couldn't help. I looked it up. I looked over at Rachel.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, during this.
So, the time is 9:22. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the regular town council meeting of Town of Sunnyvale for March 11th. Good night. Sorry, come on. You're enthused by the comment you made the accomplishment, right?
They're all awful.
I didn't text, I said something.
Actually, you're not supposed to use form during the